Hello and welcome back to Bookish Dives. I'm so glad you could join us.
It's great to be back.
And just so everyone knows, if you're new here, welcome. But this isn't our first time doing this.
Not at all.
We've done a couple of these before, so if you like what you hear today, definitely dive into the archives. But today, wow, today we are tackling a really big
A
one.
foundational one for sure.
We are cracking open Why Evolution is True by Jerry A. Coyne.
It really is a definitive text. I mean, it's one of those books that doesn't just make an argument, it just sort of systematically lays out the evidence piece by piece.
It's intense, but it's also incredibly readable. And it starts with so much drama. Like, right in the preface, Coyne drops us into a courtroom.
Pennsylvania, right, 2005.
Exactly. The case is Kitzmiller et al. Versus Dover Area School District. I kind of remember the headlines, but can you walk me through what was actually happening there?
Yeah, so this was the big intelligent design trial. The local school board in Dover had decided that biology teachers had to read this disclaimer to their 9th grade students.
The disclaimer. About evolution.
Yep. It basically said, hey, Darwin's theory is, just a theory. It's not a fact. There are gaps. And then it pointed them to another book entirely.
Oh, of pandas and people.
That's the one. To learn about intelligent design as, a valid scientific alternative.
So they were trying to position it as like, here's option A from science, and here's option B also from science.
They were trying to teach the controversy, but here's the thing. The judge assigned to the case, John Jones III, was a George W. Bush appointee.
Oh, wait.
A conservative Republican, a churchgoer.
So the school board must have thought, okay, great, we've got this in the bag.
You would think. But when the ruling came down, Judge Jones he didn't just rule against them, he absolutely demolished their argument. He called the policy breathtaking inanity.
Wow. Breathtaking inanity. That's a phrase.
It's a stinging rebuke. He basically ruled that intelligent design was just creationism in a cheap tuxedo. It wasn't science, and the board had lied about their religious motives.
So a total shutdown.
A total rout. And that's where Coyne starts his book. He's making the point that, okay, the legal battle was won, but the bigger war for public understanding, that's still going on.
And that's really the whole mission of the book, isn't it? To close that gap. Because he cites some statistics that are just staggering.
They're wild.
Yeah.
Back in 2006, he says only about 40% of Americans accepted that humans evolved.
Ugh.
40%.
That puts the U.S. on par with Turkey, I think he said.
Yeah, pretty much. Meanwhile, you look at places like France or Scandinavia, and acceptance is over 80%.
It's such a massive disconnect. And I think, a lot of it has to come down to that one word, theory. People hear it's just a theory, and they think it means a hunch, like my theory about who ate the last cookie.
Right. But in science, a theory is this huge, well-supported explanation for how nature works. Like, we have the theory of gravity or atomic theory.
And nobody says, oh, germs are just a theory, I'm not going to wash my hands.
Exactly. Coyne's whole point is that evolution is just as solid, just as factual as those.
Okay, so let's get into it. If it's a fact, what is it exactly? Because my mental image is just, the monkey turning into a guy in a suit.
Which isn't quite right. Coyne breaks the modern theory down into 6 main parts, so it's not so vague.
6 parts, okay.
The first is just evolution itself, simple genetic change over time. The second is gradualism.
Meaning slow, like really slow. We're not talking about a dinosaur suddenly laying a chicken egg.
No. We're talking thousands, millions of generations for big changes. Then the third, and this one is so important, is speciation. Darwin called it the mystery of mysteries.
Why is that one the big mystery?
Because it's what creates diversity. Yeah. It's the process of one lineage splitting into 2 separate species that can't breed anymore. Without speciation, life would just be one thing slowly changing into a slightly different thing.
Ah, so that's how you get the whole branching tree of life.
Yeah.
Why we have both cats and dogs.
Exactly. Then you have common ancestry, which is the idea that all those branches connect if you go back far enough. 5th is the famous one, natural selection. And the 6th is a little different, non-selective mechanisms like genetic drift.
Genetic drift. That sounds random.
It is. Think of it as luck. A volcano erupts and wipes out half a population of beetles. The survivors aren't necessarily fitter, they just happen to be on the other side of the hill. Their genes get passed on by pure chance.
Okay, so it's not all about survival of the fittest.
Right. Both selection and just plain luck-shaped life. But I want to go back to natural selection because Coyne spends a lot of time on the watchmaker argument.
William Paley's idea from, what, the 1800s?
That's the one.
The idea that if
Tiny, tiny steps. Random variations pop up all the time. That's the chance part. But which ones survive isn't chance at all.
it's a filter.
It's a filter. If a tiny change helps you survive and have more kids, it gets passed on. If it doesn't, it disappears. And over millions of years, that mindless process builds things that look designed.
But it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's just about being a little bit better than the next guy.
Precisely. Survival of the fitter. And that little distinction is key when we start looking at the actual evidence.
Okay, so evidence. Let's
Yeah.
talk evidence. The first place to look is in the rocks, the fossil record. But I always hear people ask, where are the missing links?
Ugh, scientists kind of hate that term.
They do.
Yeah, they prefer transitional forms. Link makes it sound like a straight chain, but evolution is more like a dense branching bush. But to answer the question, we found them. We have tons of them.
And the superstar example in the book has to be Tiktaalik.
Oh, Tiktaalik rosé, absolutely. The fishapod, they found it in 2004 way up in the Canadian Arctic. It's about 375 million years old.
So why is this one fossil so important?
Because it's the perfect in-between. We predicted that there had to be something that bridged the gap between fish in the water and amphibians on land, and Tiktaalik is it. It has gills and scales, like a fish,
Okay.
but it has a flat head with eyes on top, like a croc. And this is the amazing part, it has bones in its fins that are homologous to our wrist bones.
Wait, a fish with wrists?
A fish with wrists. It could do a push-up. It could prop its head out of the water. It's exactly the kind of creature you'd expect to see making that transition from sea to land.
That is just so cool. What about whales? That story was maybe even more mind-blowing to me.
It's one of the best fossil sequences we have, period. You can literally watch the nostrils move.
Move.
Yeah. Their ancestors were land animals, kind of like small deer or hippos. Their nose was at the front of the snout. In the fossil record, you see fossils where the nostrils are a little further back, then further still, until they end up on the top of the head as the blowhole.
And they still have leftovers from their time on land, don't they?
They do. Deep inside the bodies of modern whales, you can find tiny, useless little hip and leg bones just floating there, not connected to anything.
Wow.
They're just echoes of their four-legged past.
That's a perfect lead-in to the next bit of evidence, vestiges and what Coyne calls bad design. Because if someone designed all this from scratch, they made some questionable choices.
They really did. We just mentioned the whale's legs. But think about ostrich wings. They're these big, complex structures built for flying on a bird that's grounded. It's like having a car with wings instead of doors.
Or the little muscles we have to wiggle our ears.
Great. Can you do it?
I can't, no. I've tried. It just looks stupid.
Most of us can't. Cats and dogs use those muscles to pinpoint sounds. We have the same machinery, but it's just broken. The leftover.
But the really damning evidence, Coyne says, isn't the useless stuff, it's the broken stuff in our DNA, the dead genes.
Yes, this is just fascinating. So take vitamin C. Most mammals, like your dog, make their own. They have a working gene called GLO that handles it.
But we have to get it from oranges, or we get scurvy.
Exactly. Because in us and all other primates, that GLO gene is still there in our DNA, but it's broken. A mutation killed it millions of years ago.
So we're carrying around the fossil of a gene.
We are. And why would a designer put a broken gene in our code? It only makes sense if we inherit it from an ancestor who didn't need oranges.
And speaking of things that don't make sense, let's talk about the recurrent laryngeal nerve. This was the part of the book where I just put it down and said, no way.
It is the ultimate Rube Goldberg machine of biology. So you have a nerve that goes from your brain to your larynx, your voice box.
Okay, seems simple enough.
In a fish, it's a direct route. But in mammals, that nerve gets looped under a major artery near the heart, the aorta. So instead of a direct path, it goes all the way down into your chest, hooks around the aorta, and then comes all the way back up to your throat.
That already sounds ridiculously inefficient.
You know, imagine it in a giraffe. That nerve travels 15 feet down its neck, loops around the artery, and then travels 15 feet all the way back up. A 30-foot detour for a journey of a few inches.
That's insane. No engineer would ever design that.
Of course not. It's terrible design, but it makes perfect sense if you realize that evolution isn't an engineer, it's a tinkerer. It has to modify what's already there, and it got stuck with that weird loop from our fishy ancestors.
Okay, so we've got fossils, we've got bad design. Let's look at the map. Biogeography. Why are things where they are?
This was a huge piece of the puzzle for Darwin. He saw that deserts in America and deserts in Africa looked similar, but the plants and animals were totally different.
Right, the cacti versus what were they called? Euphorbs?
Euphorbs, yeah. They look almost identical, spiny, succulent, but they're completely unrelated plant families. It's called convergent evolution.
So they arrived at the same solution to the same problem.
Exactly. If a creator was just plopping down life, why not put cacti in both places? The distribution only makes sense if life started in one place and then spread out and adapted.
And the best proof of this is on islands, isn't it?
Oceanic islands specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Places like Hawaii or the Galapagos that rose up from the seafloor, they have a very weird collection of life.
What's missing?
There are almost no native land mammals, no amphibians, no freshwater fish. Why?
Because they couldn't get there. A frog can't swim 1,000 miles across the ocean.
Precisely. It's not that they couldn't live there, it's that they couldn't get there. But these islands are full of birds, insects, and plants that could fly or float over. And once they arrived, they evolved into all these unique new species. The pattern fits dispersal, not special creation.
Now, all this is great evidence, but it's all in the past. Coyne makes the point that we can actually watch evolution happening right now.
Oh, constantly. The most obvious and scariest example is antibiotic resistance in bacteria. That is evolution in hyperspeed.
Right. We are the selection pressure.
We are. A less scary example is the beach mice in Florida. On the pale, sandy beaches, the mice are very light-colored. Just a few miles inland, where the soil is dark, the mice are dark brown.
And owls can spot the ones that don't match.
Exactly. The owls are the selectors. It really drives home that key point. The mutations are random, but the selection, the survival, that part is not random at all.
Okay, so we've come to the part of the conversation that, well, that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Let's talk about us.
Human evolution, the big one.
Coyne says the evidence here is just as strong, if not stronger, than for any other species.
It really is. Darwin, back in 1871, predicted that since our closest living relatives, chimps and gorillas, are in Africa, that's where we'd find our ancestors.
He was right.
He was completely right. And now, of course, we have genetics. We share something like 98.5% of our DNA sequence with chimpanzees.
That is uncomfortably close for some people.
It is. And the fossils tell a surprising story, too. Most people think our big brains came first. But the fossils show we were walking upright on two legs for millions of years before our brains started to expand significantly. We stood up first, then we got smart.
But this is where that emotional hurdle comes in, isn't it? Coyne really addresses this. The feeling that if we're just another animal, if we just evolved, then what's the point? Is there any meaning, any morality?
It's the argument from consequences. People don't reject the science because the evidence is bad. They reject it because they're afraid of what it might mean for humanity.
Right. If we're just animals, why shouldn't we act like animals? The law of the jungle.
But Coyne makes a really crucial point. Evolution is descriptive, not prescriptive. It tells us where we came from, not how we should behave. Our biology is not our destiny.
And he also pushes back on that idea that nature is only red in tooth and claw. Right.
Absolutely. The beast within is a huge misconception. Natural selection can, and often does, favor cooperation, empathy, altruism. We are social apes. We survived for millennia because we learned to take care of each other. Our capacity for morality might be an evolved trait itself.
So it's not a choice between evolution and having meaning.
Not at all. And that's really Coyne's final point. If you look at all the evidence, the fossils, the genes, the bad design, the geography, it all converges. It all tells the same story.
It's like thousands of different clues that all point to the same suspect.
Exactly. And he ends the book with the sentiment that really echoes Darwin himself, that there's a grandeur in this view of life. We're not separate from nature. We are deeply connected to every living thing on this planet.
And we are the only part of it, as far as we know, that has become aware of that connection.
We are the one species that has figured out its own origin story.
That is a pretty amazing thought to end on.
It really is.
Well, that is our deep dive into Why Evolution is True by Jerry A. Coyne. A truly fantastic book if you want to understand the evidence or just, understand yourself a little better. Thank you so much for listening to Bookish Dives.
Thanks, everyone.
If you enjoyed this journey through the science of life, please make sure you hit that follow button. We have so many more fascinating books to explore, and you're not going to want to miss them.
See you next time.